What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode of VAR, Video Assistant Referee, where we react and review tax advice circulating around social media, and we decide to give it a yellow card, we decide to give it a red card, or we decide to do nothing because the on-field decision was correct. If we are meeting for the first time, my name is Ronnie Foguin. I am a Canadian and US CPA. My sole purpose is to help creators keep more after-tax cash, maximize their ROI, and build wealth through effective tax planning.
Tax is a big issue for me. I don't like taxes. I don't understand taxes. Like, what?
You and me, brother. You and me both, brother.
For no safety, average education, below average healthcare. It's like, why even doing that? We don't pay tax in the UAE or most of this region. Okay. No, but we get the most safest places in the world. We get amazing healthcare, and educating here is superb. Yes, we pay for it, but if you make the math, it's cheaper here than there, right? Do the math.
Let's talk about it real quick. So there a lot was said there. Obviously, if you're getting taxed 50%, it's as if you worked for half a year and you paid half of your income to the CRA or the IRS. I get that. People say that all the time. And I guess we're saying in Dubai and UAE, you're paying zero taxes. But let's go back in history for a little bit where how taxes were invented. Because even though our goal is to maximize our after-tax cash, we also understand that taxes do have a purpose, right? They help build our roads, to help fund our education system, public schools, all that stuff, healthcare. So they do have a purpose, and that is why they exist. So if we're saying at the core, why are they there? We have zero income tax. Like, why do we have that? We have to understand that in the Western world, taxes were made to kind of pool income from everybody. Now, do they still operate as they should in 2025? That's a whole another topic. We could literally talk about that for hours, and I would love that discussion. But that was the intent. And if we're comparing to a country if we're looking at the UAE where they have zero income tax, that income necessary to build infrastructure is coming from elsewhere, right? They have their own resources that they can pull from where they say, okay, we are not going to charge income tax. Like that's how they do it, right? Like economics means there's always a source, like supply and demand comes from somewhere. There was a lack of supply of revenue from the government to perform certain acts way back when taxes were created, and taxes were made for that reason. Whereas the UAE, I guess they could say, no, we don't need our population's income. We could just fund it through our own resources, what we have. So I think it's important to make that distinction because the video is coming off as like, yo, the Western world's silly. Like, why would they have taxes? Like, no, there's reasons to this. I always link it back to like before you know where you're going, you have to understand your history, right? Like we know why taxes were invented. Naturally, it got to a position where, once you started earning a certain amount, whether you were a lobbyist or a government official or like a high income business owner, you could leverage the tax code, create new tax law through lobbying. And then, that's where real estate laws came in. That's where charity laws came in. That's where all of these laws came in for you to benefit from not paying tax, whereas everything would then shift to the employee, like the salaried employee, whether you were a T4 earner in Canada or a W2 earner in the US, that tax burden would shift primarily to middle class, low income class families. So yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. I don't want people to think that. Let me be straight up with y'all for a little bit, all right? Over the past couple years, there has not been a time, at least every quarter of the year or something, where someone comes up to me either through DM or just in person, just asks me hey, what about these tax havens? Like, what if I just move to the Netherlands? What if I move to Panama? What if I move to Dubai? And then they're like, yo, there's zero income tax over there. I could just be living lavish. And I always tell them go ahead. Just make sure that you understand that you really have to renounce your citizenships and cut all ties with these countries because they tax you on your worldwide income. So that's why I know people who are going to watch that video of this gentleman saying, UAE, we have zero tax. And I've seen it already. I remember last year there was a Canadian on TikTok who was talking about hey, hire me so I could have you relocate to Dubai so you pay zero income tax. And I was like, well, that's silly. I hope that whoever goes to him understands what they have to give up. And I don't know about you guys, if I have to give up being away from family and being away from my community and my social system to pay zero income tax, I'm living life the wrong way. There's bigger, more important things than that, but to each their own. I just want to clarify that because if we are going on the route of, oh, areas where you pay no income tax are better. To get to that point, there's so many steps that you have to take, like renouncing your citizenship, cutting ties. There's something specifically within the Canadian jurisdiction. There's something called primary and secondary ties, right? So do you have you have a spouse and kids in a country, which means that whether you leave or stay, if they remain in that country, then you are still tied and still a resident of that country, which means that if you were to move to Dubai, you would still be taxed by the Canadian government on your worldwide income. You would still be taxed by the U.S. government on your U.S. income. So keep those things in mind when you watch these videos. Yeah, the VAR verdict on this one, no comment. If you guys enjoy this type of content where we circle around, check out social media tax advice, and we review to give the real, knowledgeable, factual evidence, make sure to leave a like, make sure to comment down below. If there's a video you've seen online and you want us to put it through VAR, definitely let me know, tag me, I'll make sure to add it. And, follow, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. And if we're meeting for the first time, remember, my name is Ronnie. I make these videos a lot. I am a CPA helping Canadian and US creators maximize their wealth through tax planning. It's been fun. I'll see y'all in the next video.